Joining me right now is the Gatestone Institute Senior Fellow and the author of The Coming Collapse of China and the Great U.S.-China Tech War. Gordon Chang is here. Gordon, thank you so much for being here. You also believe that Blinken should not go to China. Tell us more.
Well, first of all, Blinken shouldn't have gone to China before this Chinese spy balloon incident. And the reason is that he's not going to accomplish anything. And by sending him there, the Chinese think that we are sending an envoy to the Great Celestial Court and that we're a vassal. So this was never going to work out. But clearly, in view of the spy incident, this is just unjust. There's no reason for him to go at this point, because what it's showing is that in Chinese minds, they believe that they can do anything they want, including violating our sovereignty, and we will still try to seek cooperation. In China's mind, that shows that we will not defend ourselves. I'm not saying that the Chinese are right, but that's the Chinese mentality. That's an extremely dangerous situation when they believe that.
Unbelievable. This is just extraordinary. Gordon, you have been so good about identifying all of the surveillance programs that are in place in America from China, whether it be TikTok, whether it be spies and this infiltration of academia. Now we find this spy balloon. Why aren't we shooting this down? And what do you know about this spy balloon? I mean, apparently it could easily disperse biological weapons or have a nuclear device to disable American nuclear responses?
Yeah, there could be anything that balloon carries, including what you just talked about. We know where it came from. Its track has been public. And I think probably the Biden administration believes that they do not want to roil relations with China. And that they are being responsible for restraint. Unfortunately, as I just mentioned, the Chinese don't view it that way. They put a different spin on it. And we got to remember that the Chinese leadership, especially under Xi Jinping, and especially in the last 3 or 4 years, does live in its own world of its own constructed reality. And that reality is what's important. And it's very dangerous with what they're doing with, for instance, the intercept of that unarmed U.S. Air Force reconnaissance plane in international airspace in December. So this just goes one incident after another, and it's not leading in a good direction.
No, this is really an incredible development. Now we know that China is sending more than a dozen jets and 4 naval ships around Taiwan. They did this morning. CIA Director William Burns warned yesterday that Chinese leader Xi Jinping should not be underestimated with regard to Taiwan, and that Xi has ordered his military to be ready to invade Taiwan by 2027. But, Gordon, I mean, I spoke with the head of the China Select Committee, Mike Gallagher, recently, and he said he's looking at 2024. That could be a year that we see some kind of an invasion or breach. Here's Mike Gallagher. Watch this.
2024 is the year I'm looking at. Obviously, we have a presidential election, so we're naturally going to be a little internally divided and distracted. But more importantly, Taiwan has a presidential election. And so I think those two things conspire to convince Xi Jinping he can't achieve this via political warfare. So he might choose the kinetic or hard power option. So 2024 really is the year of maximum danger, in my opinion.
2024, the year of maximum danger. Your thoughts?
Could be 2023, especially with these dangerous intercepts. And it's not just American planes. It's also the Australian plane in May, which was the most dangerous intercept yet, apart from the April 2001 incident, which led to the collision. I'm worried about an accident that will spiral downwards, especially because of the way the Chinese view the world. And it's not just these plane incidents. It's also on the surface of the South China Sea and East China Sea. We see Chinese troops deep into Indian-controlled territory, that large incursion in December, the stepped-up provocations against the Philippines and Japan, and, of course, the Taiwan air intercepts that you just talked about. It's across China's southern and eastern peripheries. It's so many different targets at once, and it's also the United States.
Wow. House Oversight Committee Chairman James Comer opening an investigation into John Kerry, meanwhile, and his role and his secretive high-level meetings on quote-unquote climate negotiations with China. So Comer sends a letter to Kerry, writing, "You have also continued to downplay the CCP's human rights violations and its antagonism against the United States while promoting climate negotiations that the CCP does not even appear to be interested in entering." Gordon, nobody believes that the biggest polluter in the world, which is China, is going to do and follow any guidelines that the U.S. has on climate change. What is John Kerry doing, and is he getting in the way of national security?
Well, certainly John Kerry is getting in the way of national security because he believes that climate trumps everything else. And, you know, we saw, though, in his comments at Vladimir Putin a day or two after he invaded Ukraine from Kerry, the House can actually cut money off from Kerry's negotiations. And I believe that they should do that because they clearly are not in the interest of the United States or the international community. This is folly. And we should understand that these negotiations should stop immediately.
Gordon, I got to say, I'm suspect that anything is going to be done to hold China to account or change this situation where the CCP is surveilling America regularly until there's a new president in the White House. Honestly, I mean, he's just not doing anything about this.
No, he's not. You know, and that Grand Forks Air Force Base, it was only a couple days ago that an assistant secretary of the Air Force said, well, I don't think that the Chinese should be building that corn processing plant within 12 miles of our sensitive communication facilities. It took that long for the administration to say what everybody else knew, that China shouldn't be building surveillance facilities throughout the Midwest. And now we have this balloon. I mean, what can you say? This administration is not defending us. And I believe that that's an abrogation of President Biden's constitutional duty, his most solemn one, which is to protect the U.S. from foreign attack.
Well, they must have so much on him. That is all I can say. That is all I can conclude from all of this. When are we also going to notice all the police stations? That there's a Chinese CCP police station in New York. Should we do nothing about it until it's out of control? Like this balloon, is it now out of control? Gordon, thank you. We will keep watching on this. Certainly, we will keep a spotlight on it. We appreciate you, Gordon Chang.